Imagine getting a call from your solicitor. There's been an issue with your property, they say. Someone's trying to sell it. What do you mean, trying to sell it? I'm not selling anything. That's the problem. Someone claiming to be you just signed a contract for £850,000. You're confused. Your property deeds are in your drawer. You've never listed your home. You've never met with any estate agents. But somewhere in London, a man you've never heard of just walked out of a luxury car dealership with his 19th Ferrari, paid for in cash, with money from selling your property. This isn't fiction. Between 2021 and 2024, this happened to at least 75 property owners across London, Hertfordshire, and Essex. One man, multiple identities, £8.5 million in fraud. And here's what should terrify you. He was supposed to have been deported to Mauritius in 2010. For 15 years, immigration authorities had a deportation order with his name on it. While they looked for him, he orchestrated the illicit sale of 75 buildings or development plots, bought 19 high-value cars including Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Aston Martins, a £97,000 speedboat, and even tried to purchase a super yacht named Mistaken Identity. His name is Anup Kumar Maudu, or Vincent Lebouf, or Pascal Burns, or Youssef Khan, or Hamid Khan. He had 14 sets of false identity documents and more than 20 personalized number plates. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how he pulled off one of Britain's largest property frauds, why the system failed to stop him, and how investigators finally caught him after years of operation. If you value deep dive investigations with verified facts, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. I spent weeks researching this case from official sources only. No speculation, just documented truth. Your support keeps this channel going. Now let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. Anup Kumar Maudu of Wapping, London, was sentenced to 10 years behind bars at Southwark Crown Court on August 29, 2025, having pleaded guilty to 31 charges of fraud. But that's just the surface. At the same hearing, Maudu admitted a further 45 offences that were taken into consideration, bringing his total confirmed crimes to 76 offences. The scam was simple in concept, sophisticated in execution. Using a number of aliases, the 45-year-old carried out a large-scale conveyancing fraud which offered investment opportunities in the purchase of supposedly repossessed properties or the redevelopment of plots of land. However, in reality, the properties were not subject to repossession proceedings, and the genuine owners were unaware of the fraudulent sales. Think about that for a moment. The genuine owners had no idea their properties were being marketed and sold. Here's how it worked. Maudu used companies in his control to create the impression he had unique access to repossessed and liquidated properties and was able to expedite their onward sale. He'd approach potential investors with an attractive pitch: distressed properties, below market value, quick returns, everything backed by seemingly legitimate legal documentation. The paperwork looked flawless because Maudu understood the conveyancing system's vulnerabilities. He knew exactly what documents solicitors expected to see, and he provided them, all forged, all convincing. Evidence suggested he had orchestrated the illicit sale of 75 buildings or development plots since 2021, with victims located in North London, Hertfordshire, and Essex. But when buyers started asking questions, Maudu had a brilliant and disturbing solution. When victims raised concerns, Maudu would exchange messages with himself using different aliases and devices, pretending to be a point of escalation within his business or a contact in the planning or conveyancing process. He would text himself, email himself, create entire fictional conversations between Vincent Leboeuf, the property developer, and Youssef Khan, the solicitor, both the same person. It was theatre, a one-man show designed to create the illusion of a legitimate business operation. If you're finding this as disturbing as I am, hit that like button. Let me know this kind of verified, fact-based investigation resonates with you. Now here's where it gets audacious. Most fraudsters who pull off a scam like this would keep a low profile. Avoid attention, stay modest. Not Mardu. The scam had earned him in excess of £8.5 million, which he spent on a lavish lifestyle that included a number of properties, a speedboat, and 19 high-value cars that included Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and Aston Martins. 19 high-value cars, not used cars, not modest vehicles, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins, all purchased in cash. He also amassed a collection of more than 20 personalized number plates which referenced his identities. But the most brazen detail? His audacious plans included trying to purchase a super yacht named Mistaken Identity, which he intended to moor at St. Catherine Docks, right below his luxury East London residence. The man operating under false identities wanted to dock a yacht called Mistaken Identity in one of London's most visible marinas. The irony is almost poetic. But the cars, the speedboat, the yacht plan, these weren't just indulgences. They were props in a performance. When Modu met with potential investors, he projected wealth and success. He looked exactly like someone with exclusive access to high-value property deals. And people believed him. Zain Ahmed, who lost £230,000, stated the scam had a profound and devastating impact, causing sleepless nights and deep emotional distress. I placed my trust in him, believing him to be a genuine individual, but was left emotionally and financially shattered. Mordu was arrested by investigators from the Eastern Region Special Operations Unit, ERSOUR, during raids across central London and Hertfordshire in September 2024. But the arrest itself revealed just how deep his deception ran. As part of the enforcement activity which led to his arrest, officers searching locations linked to Mordu seized a speedboat and 19 high-value cars, including Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Aston Martins, and several others. What else did they find? More than £15,000 in cash was retrieved during the warrants, along with 14 sets of false identity documents for several aliases of different nationalities. Digital devices were also found, which helped investigators uncover a vast, complex, and highly organized scheme. 14 sets of false identity documents, different nationalities, each one meticulously crafted to pass verification checks. Officers also found identity documents for several aliases, including Vincent Leboeuf, Pascal Burns, Youssef Khan, and Hamid Khan, and discovered that he had been due for deportation to Mauritius in 2010. Think about that timeline. A deportation order issued in 2010, an arrest in 2024, 14 years of operating freely in the UK despite being flagged for removal. Detective Inspector Damien Barlow from ERSOU's Regional Organised Crime Unit, ROCU, said, Mardu went to great lengths to cover his track and hide his true identity, causing untold harm to a high number of unsuspecting victims. He was purely motivated by greed, using the proceeds to fund his own lifestyle. The investigation wasn't simple. Detective Inspector Damien Barlow said, Our investigation has involved hours and hours of work as our teams picked through Mordhu's lies and attempted cover-ups. We're about to get into the sentencing, And what happened to his assets? If you're not subscribed, do it now. Turn on notifications. Let's talk about the people whose lives Maudhu destroyed. Victims in this case have lost significant sums of money, in some cases in excess of £1 million. One victim, Zain Ahmed, lost £230,000. His statement to the court was devastating. "I placed my trust in him, believing him to be a genuine individual, but was left emotionally and financially shattered. I feel humiliated and I fear I may never recover from this financial blow." These weren't wealthy investors gambling with spare cash. These were ordinary people who believed they were making legitimate property investments, life savings, retirement funds, money meant for their children's futures. And while they faced financial ruin, Maudhu was driving a different Ferrari every day of the week. Detective Inspector Damien Barlow said, "The scale of Maudhu's offending is truly shocking, and what stood out as we pieced together this investigation is that he paid absolutely no regard to those he was defrauding. Put simply, he was purely focused on taking victims' cash and using it to fund his lavish lifestyle." On August 29, 2025, justice was finally delivered. Anop Kumar Maudhu was sentenced to 10 years behind bars at Southwark Crown Court, having pleaded guilty to 31 charges of fraud. At sentencing, prosecutor Simon Wilshire KC described it as a vast, complex, and highly organized scheme. His defense attorney tried to humanize him. "Mr. Leboeuf has been married for 14 years and has a family. He has a child with his wife and 2 other children who form a family unit and a stepson. So this is a separation from a father and a husband for them." 10 years, final sentence. But the story doesn't end there. Maudhu was made subject to the UK's first Interpol Silver Notice, which facilitates locating, identifying, and obtaining information about laundered assets such as properties, vehicles, financial accounts, and businesses. This is significant. The Silver Notice allows law enforcement across 52 countries to share information and freeze accounts linked to serious crimes. Detective Chief Inspector Rob Burns said, "The Silver Notice is the latest tool we're using to help identify any further assets held by Maudhu, in addition to the speedboat and 19 high-value cars we have already seized." Investigators believe Maudhu has hidden assets abroad, likely in Europe, that haven't been recovered yet. Further inquiries are now taking place by ERSOU's financial investigators using Proceeds of Crime Act legislation. The goal: to ensure all of his assets are located, brought under police control, and used to repay those who Maudhu targeted. But here's the harsh reality. Even with aggressive asset recovery, £8.5 million spent over 3 years is nearly impossible to fully recoup. Many victims may never see their money again. Now let's address the elephant in the room. How did this happen? Maudhu had been due for deportation to Mauritius in 2010. That's a 14-year gap between deportation order and arrest. For 14 years, a known fraudster operated freely in the UK, evading immigration authorities, building false identities, and defrauding dozens of innocent people. This isn't just a story about one criminal. It's a story about systemic failure. The conveyancing system, built on trust and document verification, proved vulnerable to high-quality forgeries. Maudhu exploited these gaps expertly. But the immigration enforcement failure is equally troubling. How does someone with a deportation order remain in the country for 14 years, accumulating 76 fraud convictions along the way? These are questions that demand answers. Deputy Commissioner Nick Adams for the City of London Police said, "As the national lead for fraud, The City of London Police played a crucial role in advancing this pilot. We are excited to witness the historic first use of the silver notice in the UK. The silver notice is a step forward, but it's a reactive measure, tracing assets after the damage is done. The real question is, how do we prevent the next Modu? So what do we learn from Anup Kumar Modu? First, systems built on trust are vulnerable to sophisticated deception. The conveyancing process assumed documents were legitimate. Modu exploited that assumption ruthlessly. Second, immigration enforcement failures have real, devastating consequences. A deportation order means nothing if it's not enforced. Third, white-collar crime destroys lives. Modu didn't use violence, but he shattered families and destroyed futures just as effectively. Fourth, asset recovery is complex. Even with international cooperation and new tools like the Interpol Silver Notice, recovering £8.5 million spent over 3 years remains extremely difficult. As of now, Modu sits in prison serving his 10-year sentence. His cars have been seized, his speedboat impounded, his mistaken identity yacht, dreams permanently docked. But dozens of victims are still fighting to recover their losses. And the vulnerabilities in our systems, they remain. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next investigation.